Welcome to the discussion. I'm your host, Jason Miller. My guests today are the national champions from the University of Virginia. No, we're not talking about the NCAA men's basketball team or the men's lacrosse team. We're talking to the members of the two-time UVA National Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition champions. Congratulations and welcome to the discussion. My guests are Mariah Kenny, Calvin Christ, Daniel Chen, Roman Bohook, and Will Mays. Let me start off our discussion with just a little bit of context. Research says that there'll be 3.5 million cyber vacancies by 2021 across the United States. When you look at just the federal government, for instance, the need for cyber experts, both offensive and defensive experts, will continue to grow every month, every year. Just 3 years ago, the Office of Management and Budget found the vast majority of agencies cited a lack of cybersecurity and IT talent as a major resource constraint that impacts their ability to protect information and assets. They also said they lack awareness about the existing federal initiatives to address these challenges, and those programs that they do have lack consistency. So for the past few years, the Office of Management and Budget has initiated a host of efforts to solve these problems. We've heard about competitions, we've heard about bug bounties, we've heard about cyber reskilling academies. In fact, 30 students just graduated from that cyber reskilling academy in July. But really the only way to address this ever-growing cyber worker skill set is get the next generation of employees interested, even excited about cybersecurity. And that's why competitions, such as the one that these cyber students from UVA won, are so important to training and preparing for the cyber threats of today and in the future. So let's once again turn to my guests and talk about their accomplishments and their championship. Let's start at the beginning. National Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. If you've never heard of it, what is it? How does it work? Mariah, lead us off.
Sure. So it's basically an inherit and defend competition. So we inherit this compromised business network that represents basically a fake company as if it was actually operational. And we, the students, act as the blue team, which means we're responsible for defending the network. And then the red team are industry professionals that are basically attacking our network. So we're under active attack, and we have to maintain business continuity and the services as if it was a real company that we were responsible for defending. And
this year was interesting, just a little bit of research, and it was an agriculture company, and basically the goal was to steal the innovations, the agriculture information.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, does that make it harder? Because it's a different type of company. It's not a software company or a hardware company or...
It has differences, but you still have data that you have to protect, which all companies really have. Just you have your critical data, and then you need to protect it from anybody trying to steal it from you.
The exact theme of the company, I have not seen affect the competition very much. They do business injects that we have to complete throughout the course of the competition. So, for example, the company, as an agriculture company that had biometric data that influenced one of the ones we had to do, I wrote a report on biometric privacy laws in Illinois. So kind of little things like that do play a part, but that's about it.
And give me a sense of how long the competition is. Is it over a couple of weeks? Is it over a couple of days? Are you guys, Red Bull and Doritos? Give me a sense.
So the competition had two parts. Well, actually three parts. First, there were the qualifiers, then there was the regional competition, and then the nationals. The qualifiers, it was just this one day, about 4 hours, 4-hour contiguous event. And then for regionals, we actually came to Maryland. There were 8 teams that qualified from the qualifiers, and they competed for 2 days in a row for about 8 hours each day. Yeah. And for nationals, the best team from each region traveled to Florida, and it was about the same. We had two days, 8 hours each.
And what was that like? Give me a sense of what those experiences were like, because I can only imagine it's a huge brain suck, right? You're worried about it. It's a competition, so it's intense. And when you look at who you're up against, I saw that the breakdowns of universities and colleges across the entire country came to nationals. I mean, give me a sense of the process by which this happened, meaning the actual competition. Like, you had to do what? So, for instance, you get there and you do what? Like, walk me through the competition itself a little bit. Is it just go and be prepared to be attacked?
So I think the first year we did it, that was kind of more or less the way we approached it. We didn't have the best idea, but the second year we prepared for almost half a year before the competition started, and then our team was split into smaller sub teams. So there was the Linux team, there was the Windows team, a network engineer, and then we had a plan. And so as soon as we got into the competition, we identified everything. We looked at our network, we looked at the services that we had to keep running, looked at our kind of critical points, and then each team took charge of those
Pieces.
and then followed the plan.
Yeah. And then, so we come up with that game plan in advance, but then as soon as we walk in the room, they're like, go.
It all goes
And then,
to
yeah,
hell.
exactly. You sit down at the computers, you're already under active attack. I think at Nationals this year, the red team, the attackers, had passwords within 30 seconds of the competition beginning. So as soon as you touch those computers, you're under attack and your network is just on fire.
Will, jump in.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why our preparation matters so much, is because these game plans, especially early on, the better we can execute them, we can stay a step ahead of the red team. Because if, like they said, they had passwords in 30 seconds, if we were getting to changing our passwords in 45 seconds in, well, it's too late. They're already in our network and they got in really easily. So we have to make sure we know not only exactly what we're going to do, but we can do that quickly and efficiently, so that way we're on to the next steps, and their first steps fail, and then they have to figure out what they're going to do next while we're already trying to block that off.
Now, this is considered if you will, the blue team, red team, as Mariah described it, and this is different than maybe some other competitions. Do you guys also do like capture the flag competitions? Is there other, Daniel?
So we do capture the flag competitions, which, for context, during these type of competitions, we're given like a series of cybersecurity related problems. Either it could be like a vulnerable web server, a hidden code, and then we're just trying to figure out how to get a flag, which is like a piece of text from it. And I guess the differences like between this competition versus capture the flag competition is that this competition is much more operational. So like for capture the flag competitions, we only have like one server to analyze, or even or just like one piece of ciphertext to like decrypt. Whereas for this competition, we have to defend an entire network. So we have to consider security from like a holistic point of view.
Now, do they give you, for the cyber defense competition, how to plan? Meaning, did you know going in it'd be Linux or Windows? Do they ever throw the curveball like, oh, it's an Apple system, or do they ever Unix or something?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So we have a general idea of what's going to be. We have some information about what it was like in the previous years. But having said that, for example, this year we expected to be more or less an even split between Windows and Linux, and then it ended up kind of being 90% Linux. And also, even within Linux, there are 8 different operating systems. Eight is just the number they had, but there are way more. And we don't know what it's going to be, and so we have to plan for everything. And then as soon as we go in, we have to adjust our plan.
Is there someone on your team who doesn't know Linux and they have to sit on the side?
No.
Pretty much. So our first
Windows
year,
too.
I trained in Windows, but we got in and there was not enough Windows machines for us to use at the workstation. So I was at a Linux machine during the whole competition, and I had pretty much no experience trying to defend Linux. I knew like 3 commands to use on the terminal.
Do you just want to turn it off? You're like, I can defend it, I can just pull the plug. Is that allowed or no?
Not allowed.
Not allowed, you can't just pull the plug.
Unfortunately.
No,
I mean, that's what they say, right? The only safe computer is one that's unplugged, buried in a lead box. Anyways,
Yep.
You've heard that before. Talk a little bit about the competition itself, just as it got going and what you had to do. What were some of the things that you guys learned from it? Not just that you won, which is an awesome achievement, but what were some of the things like because you didn't know a lot going in, meaning what you would need to do, you had to learn while you're doing, and how does that kind of similar to the real world experience, I guess?
Yeah, so for context, for what we know before the competition, for qualifiers and regionals, we get a network map 2 weeks in advance. So that basically tells us which systems we have, and so we can kind of plan for those systems. Okay. And then for nationals, we only have 2 hours in advance. And so we really have to make that game plan like on the fly. And then during the competition, because it's such a long competition, like Will was saying, you have those initial steps that you need to take to secure your system to kind of block out the red team as much as you can. But then once you're in there, you kind of have to build out your long-term strategy and figure out, okay, which systems are critical in my infrastructure and which ones do we need to protect and which ones are they going after. So there's that strategic element. But there's also just working together as a team. So like things are on fire, like they're in your systems. Like that's not a question, it's just what you're going to do about it. And so one of the things I think that we learned was that defending a network isn't all just about those technical skills that you have. It's also working with the team around you to kind of solve those problems and make sure you're like maintaining that communication so that things don't break down.
And the competition, the environment is very stressful. You have a lot of things going on at the same time. And for example, I'm working on a Linux machine, and then I get requests from 3 different people to get some information that they need to finish their tasks. And so we have to be able to prioritize things and work under stress. And I feel like that's one of the more important experiences that we.
Do you get a sense that, like, if you work at a security operations center in the future of your career or somewhere else, that this is pretty good training? Do you guys get a sense? I know, Will, jump in.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. Hopefully it's not always as high stress as this. Hopefully you're not constantly under attack. But like Mariah was saying with teamwork, you really have to, in this competition, be able to know the strengths of every other member of your team, because there's a lot of information to know, and it's not possible you're going to know all of it. You're going to come across something that you don't know how to do, and you need to know who on your team is going to and who can help you, and you need to know who has the information you need. And so being able to know the strengths and weaknesses of your team as a whole and be able to work with them is pretty much, I think, the most important skill that a lot of people lack, and this competition builds that at a level that you really can't get anywhere else.
As you guys went through the competition and you went through that second 8-hour day, at what point did you know you were going to win?
Never.
Never?
No, they don't show us the score till the third day.
Okay.
We can see a small portion of the score, so there are different services that we have to keep up. And at any point in time, we can see a website which shows which teams have which services up. But that's just 30% of the score, and it doesn't take into account things like penalties from red team access. So we knew we weren't doing badly, but you never know exactly how it's going to come down.
So it's much different, obviously, than a typical, if you will, competition where you see a score, you see a game, where you know, okay, where you stand. What does this mean for you guys? Not just winning the national championship, but showing the success and showing the skill sets in cybersecurity for your future. I mean, I don't know if you guys are sophomores or juniors or where you sit in the world, but does winning something like this and winning it two times in a row really kind of say, okay, this is my future? I don't know, Daniel. What's it mean for you? Do you like cyber? How about we'll start there?
I mean, I do like cyber, but
is that your future, or is it like this is a fun competition, but maybe like you want to be a software programmer, you want to do something, do something else?
So I guess personally, so in order to really do well in this competition, you need to be able to cope with, or I guess deal with the pressure that you get being under attack by experienced professional red teamers. Yeah. And personally, I'm not going to exactly leave this out as an option, but maybe pursue something slightly less stressful.
Less stressful. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that. The rest of you guys, you want to jump in, Calvin?
So I think for me personally, this competition, this is actually my first introduction to cybersecurity. Before this, I'd had no experience. And I like cybersecurity itself. There's a lot of good that needs to be done and can be done in the field. I don't personally want to get into a defensive position. Yeah. I love programming. That's where my heart lies. But if I can write software that then completes a cybersecurity objective or supports cybersecurity professionals in some manner, that's a future I could see for myself.
Or at least write code that is secure.
Yeah, code that's secure.
Code that's secure.
Step number one, I suppose.
Right.
Sure. So I actually just graduated.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There's about 1,000 people who want to hire you.
So I just started my full-time job 2 weeks ago.
Now you've disappointed us, 999 people.
Yeah. So I actually am working in the cybersecurity field, doing strategic services and incident response. And so some of the cases that I do work sometimes can be a bit stressful, but I love it, and I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Federal government?
No, it's a private company.
All right, well, we tried. Roman?
So I think I came into the competition with some interest in security and wanting to pursue the field, but the competition really kind of solidified that want, and I do like the stress.
Good.
And so I think I would like to work in something either on the blue team side or even as a penetration tester on the red team side.
Maybe an offensive cyber.
Yeah, doing things quickly.
And NSA may need you. Yeah. We'll finish this off.
I'm actually kind of in a very similar place to Calvin. I had never done cybersecurity before this competition. It was my first introduction, and I actually just finished my first year of college, so I've got some time to figure that out, and it's definitely not going to be decided instantly. But I think for me, at least right now, software development is really my passion. But like he said, I think I would really enjoy creating pieces of software that can help those people on the front lines who are doing this incident response stuff to be more effective at their jobs. I think it's a very important thing that we need to do, and I would definitely enjoy working in that capacity.
All right, well, very cool. You guys have obviously a bright future, so we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the discussion, Building a Career in Cybersecurity, sponsored by Raytheon on Federal News Radio, part of the Federal News Network.